Hi, this is Lisa Goodell, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm going to show you how to make a super fun and easy watercolor card. Okay, so for the first part of our card, we're going to be doing some watercoloring. And so for this section, we're going to need the fluid watercolor paper by Stampin' Up! And it comes in a 5" by 7" sheet. And there are 10 in a package. We're also going to need the Stampin' Up! Water painters, and these come in 3 sizes. There's the mini size, there's the medium size, and then there's a thick wide brush size. So we'll be using all of those. And then I'm going to be using a clear block as my palette. This one happens to be an eye clear block, but you could use any size you want. If you don't have clear blocks, you can use anything that is not going to soak in the ink. So you could use an empty plastic box for your stamps. You could use a piece of, I guess, like a baggie. You could also use like a plastic plate or a dish or a piece of glass. Maybe you have a dollar store frame with a piece of glass in it. Any of those things can be used for the palette. And then for my paint today, I'm actually going to be using Stampin' Up! Ink, but I'm going to be using the stamping spots just because they're easier to work with on the palette. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is cut down my watercolor paper. I'm going to go ahead and cut that in half because it's 7. So that would be 3½ inches where I want to cut that in half. We're just going to cut another ½ inch off this so that it ends up being about 4½. And let me just grab a card, and then you can see about how that will look. Yeah. You're also going to need a paper towel, and you're going to need some water. All right, so what we're going to be doing first is we're going to do the blue sky and the grass for the background. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it sideways. I'm going to put some Pacific Point up here, and then next to that I'm going to do some Night of Navy. So I have my 2 blue colors up there, and then I'm going to do some other colors later, but this is good enough to start. So what I'm going to do is the paper's going to be this way. I'm going to have the card be portrait, but to do the painting, I'm just going to go this way first. So the way you use the water painters is, I don't know if you can see this, but on the side it has a little word here that says push here. So that's where you're going to push to get the water to come out. So if you push here, it's going to start to bead up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go across here, and as I get this wet, I'm going to try to not go all the way to the edge so it kind of has that watercolor look. And it might be hard for you to see this right now, but if I kind of go like this, maybe you can kind of see the part that's wet. And you do want to get it wet first. And then I'm going to take my medium-sized brush, and then I'm going to be adding the color in here, and see, since it's already wet on the paper, it's going to be bleeding a little bit, and we want that to bleed. Okay, and then I'm going to just, you know, kind of play with the color, let it fill in. If there's some white spots, that's okay. It could be some clouds in the sky. Then also I just realized I want to have more sky than that, so I actually should have made this water part go down about 2/3 of the page, and that's fine to just add it now. And then this bottom part here, I'm going to do green later. But I only want to do one color at a time because I don't want them to bleed in to each other. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Then you just pick up more color. See, there's still some wet part here. And I think I have to kind of turn this so I can see it in the light too, to see what's colored. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little more water coming out. So I still still want it to be a little bit wet. And since I did some lines up and down, that I really probably want it to be more going across. Since you think of the sky, I don't think of up and down lines. I'm going to get a little bit of the navy blue, maybe just add in a little bit color. And another thing that you can do is take a little piece of your paper towel, and you could even, if you think it's a little dark, you can kind of just bounce off and it will make it a little lighter. But one thing that you need to know is when I'm going to get rid of the dark and I'm going to go back to the Pacific Point. When watercolor dries, sometimes it dries lighter or not as bright. So that's just something to be aware of. While this is still wet, you can add more into it. Oh, there I went down a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of that a little. I'm gonna get a little just plain water. Then I'm gonna just tap at this a little bit. See if that'll come off. It's not really coming off. I know sometimes that'll kind of work, but we'll let that dry. Then we'll I can cover that up with the green when I do the grass at the bottom. You just can keep doing this however you want. As long as it's wet a little bit, you can kind of see how it kind of blooms, it spreads a little. So then you hear this part's a little drier. See how those marks didn't spread out like this? So then you can just add a little water to that, and then that will kind of get it wet. And I think I want to have a little more down here, since I was thinking I might try to have that be a little wider. And here I just kind of was squeezing on the pen, on the barrel of the marker, just to get a little more water out. And you may want to practice first, on a piece of scratch paper, just till you kind of get the feel of how much water to squirt out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse my brushes. So you can just rinse in the water like you would with a regular brush. If you somehow did not have a cup of water, you can also squeeze and clean this up like on a paper towel. But really, I think most of the color's out. This might get a little stained over time, but as long as you have clear water, or I'll do this one here. See how this is turning blue on here? Oops. Well, don't do that over your picture. See how the water was on there? Looks like it didn't cause a problem, but I'm going to move that out of the way. Okay, so as I'm cleaning the brush here, you can probably see that this is not, doesn't have the blue on it anymore, but you can just rub it and get a little bit of wetness on the paper towel, and that's another way to clean the brush. And then this one too, I think this little one is a little bit stained, but as long as there's no more color coming off of it, then you're fine. Okay, so now I'm going to do some Old Olive. So I'm going to do that here in the middle. And when I did this the other day, I also was using some Granny Apple Green. So now, if you are going to be doing this before your paint is dry, then when you do the next color, you don't want to have it join the other color, otherwise it might bleed. And since I want to do grass or ground and the sky, I really don't want it to bleed. There could be times when you're painting flowers or something else and you do want it to bleed, but in this case I don't. So you might want to make sure this is really dry, so you can walk away for a bit and let it dry, or you're going to do like I'm going to do, and I'm going to go take this to my heat tool and I'm going to make sure it's dry. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm back and I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to make the bottom part of this wet with the wide brush, but I don't know, again, if you can really see this here, but I'm not getting too close to where the blue is because I don't want to reactivate the blue watercolor. And I'm trying to just make it so there's a little bit of a border on the edge. Okay, and then I'm going to take my medium pen and I'm going to get it in that old olive, and I'm just going to be adding it here. Again, I'm kind of picking this up so that I can see it. See where the water is glistening wet. Okay. I'm going to squeeze a little more water out, get it a little wetter. Kind of see that moving around more. Okay, and so now I'm going to work my way up pretty close to the blue, but again, I'm going to be really careful to try not to overlap it. And since the blue is dry, I think if I don't touch it too much, just a teeny bit, it's going to be okay. Over here, I do have the spot where the blue came down, so I'm just going to go over that just a little bit. And you can see there's a little bit of water here, the color's moving. So if you decide you've gotten a little too much water, then again, like I said before, you can take a piece of paper towel and you can just wad it up and just kind of touch it lightly, and it's going to soak up some of the extra water. Okay, you can kind of see there. And it might make a pattern. Sometimes you might like the pattern that it makes on the paper. But then I can just kind of go back. If I want to add more, let me try some of that Granny Apple Green. That's what it is. So I'm going to add some of that in here. I'm going to add some more of the old olive. Maybe put that a little bit down here. Then you could do a little bit of the vertical lines if you want to mimic some grass. Okay, I'm going to clean that off. Okay, then I'm going to get the skinnier brush, and then this is where I'm going to try to come up out of the green into the blue, so it maybe looks like a little bit of some blades of grass, just a little bit. Then I am going to let this dry, and then I'm going to do some more blades of grass down here. Right now, if I did it, I think it just kind of blend in, or it's going to spread out and bloom. So I think I'll do a little bit of that once that's dry. Or actually, I'm going to take it over to my heating tool again, and I'm just going to use that embossing heat tool to heat this up. Okay, and you can let that sit for a minute. One thing I really like about this paper is you can see that it's not warping. Some watercolor paper will really warp a lot when you're painting, and if that happens, usually that's okay. Sometimes people will tape down the edges to keep it from warping, but at least when it's cut down to half size like this, it doesn't seem to be warping, or I'm not using enough water to make it warp. Okay, so now I'm going to take some more of the old olive, and on this I'm not going to squeeze more water out because I don't want it to get real watery. So I'm just going to do some little tiny lines to kind of look like grass, and you can see it's not blending in like it would have before because the paint underneath it is dry. And you can do this, you know, as much as you want. You can just do little pieces, big pieces, however you want to do it. I might do a little bit more up here, do some taller ones. However you want to do it is great. And what's nice is that, you know, you don't have to feel like you're a watercolor artist to do this. One of the things that I got into stamping for when I first started learning to stamp, which was like over 20 years ago, I think I went to my first Stampin' Up! Workshop, was it made me feel like an artist without actually being an artist, because I never really felt I was talented in that way. So in this case, this is a nice little watercolor painting. I'm gonna do a little bit of color here, like for some flowers. So on here, let's try some of the red sorbet. I keep saying red sorbet, it's sweet sorbet. And I really like this color and cardstock. I used it on my Christmas cards. So I don't know why I'm forgetting. Okay, so on here, if you're not an artist, just do some little blobs for flowers. Our mind's eye always is going to be looking for patterns, so it's just gonna see that those are flowers. And if you want to do different colors, you can do different colors. I'm just gonna do all the same color here. Your mind might think they look like tulips, maybe they look like poppies, whatever you want. And see, I'm just kind of smushing the brush on here. I'm not trying to make perfect circles. There. And it kind of gives it a little look like flowers there. Okay, let me set all this aside and I'm gonna clean up and I'll be right back. All you need to do with this is also, you know, really you can just rinse it off in the sink, but since I'm doing this in here with you, I'm just going to show you how you can just wipe it off with a paper towel and it will soak it in. And then here, so you can see that this is white. So if I wipe this, I'm gonna get whatever residual colors on there. You can see there was a little bit on there. And then now it looks like it's all clean. Okay, so for this next part, I'll show you, this is a little different than what we're going to do. But in this card, you can see I have some hearts that are watercolored. And then I have some, I guess you could say these are little towels that are also hanging on the line. Here's another card that I did. So now we're gonna end up using some pattern paper, but we also want to have some of these that are watercolored as well. So those hearts were done with this Country Bouquet Punch, and it has a big heart and a little heart and 2 leaves. And so we're gonna be using the 2 hearts on here. I don't know if it's easier to see the pattern by looking on the back. And so we're gonna make just some different designs on here with our ink. So this time we're gonna be using this Sweet Sorbet. And so I'm gonna get that color out of my stamping spots. So I'm gonna put that on here next. And I'd already cleaned off that, so that's good. And I'm gonna do the Granny Apple. Granny Apple down here. And I'm gonna do some Pacific Point again. And also, well, let's see, because the thing is, with the Sweet Sorbet, you could maybe do that dark and light. Let's see. I'm gonna probably mostly use my small or mini painting brush right now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a row of stripes here. So I'm just going to start doing thin stripes. And just going to, maybe I want to make them a little bigger because I want to make sure that when I do the hearts, they'll fit in there. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to do a little water. Let's see what happens when I do it a little lighter. Yeah, oh yeah, that looks lighter. Then I'm going to rinse this off and I'm going to change to a different color, do some blue. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If I want to make it darker, I can go over it. And then I want to go back. I made these stripes a little bit wide so that I could put some other colors in there. So maybe I'll do green every so often. I can see there that kind of, I'm going to do a little more of the sweet sorbet there. Okay, then I'm going to go back, do some of the lighter sweet sorbet down here with the blue. And I think maybe I want to do some purple in that. Here's the Highland Heather. Do some Highland Heather here. Yeah. And with some of this, I'm really not worried about if it's in a certain pattern or not. Just want to get a variety of colors in there. I'll go over that, make that a little darker. Okay, and then I think I want to do some color the other way. Let's go from about here. Okay, and see, some of this is a little wet, so you can see it bleeding a little bit. If you don't like that, then you might want to wait for it to dry. I'm going to go ahead and do another purple stripe here, another purple stripe there. Okay, so you get the idea on this. Actually, maybe I want to do one more purple stripe there. Okay, then, so I'm going to try to make the hearts out of these stripes, or kind of this plaid color. And then on the rest of this, again, you can just kind of play around. This is going to be for the larger hearts. And I'm just going to, maybe I'll take the medium size. I'm going to just take color and just kind of bounce it around. I actually might not want too much of the blue filling this up, since this is going to be with the blue background. Let me get a little more of the purple on my palette. You can squeeze out the water. You want a little bit more. Have that blend in. You know, I think maybe I want some yellow too here. Although this Granny Apple kind of has a little tinge of the yellow. Let me grab it again. Okay. Here's Daffodil Delight. Okay, now you can hardly see. Let me clean this if I don't want the green to mix into that. Then we'll tap in some of that. And then I think I want some more of the pink sorbet, or no, sweet sorbet. Maybe that kind of looks like it already turned into a heart, right? So maybe I'll make these kind of look like hearts a little bit. Okay. So pretty much do whatever you want here. You can just do dots. You can do, let's see, let's do one more section here. I guess I could use my big thick brush, but I've already been using this. So on here, maybe I just want to make some big hearts. Don't want them too big. But see how the water underneath has made the paper wet? So see how the hearts are kind of spreading? You don't want them to spread like that. Then you want the paper to be a little more dry. So then you might want to wait a little bit. You can kind of get some of the water off. Paper towel. Okay, let me try. Do some purple. This is without drying it, so it's still spreading because that paper is still wet. Over here, it's not spreading quite so much because it's a little drier on this side. You can kind of see the difference. So really what I would do is just kind of play with this at first, kind of enjoy this. Don't worry about this process being perfect or not. Then when you're done with that, maybe I want to just add a little bit of dots here and there. Again, you can see if it's going to spread a little bit more, it's going to do that when it's a little wetter. Okay, so you can totally see which ones are, which part of the paper is wetter and what is dry. Okay, and it really doesn't matter because we're going to be cutting these out into the hearts when we're done. So go to town with this, just kind of explore, do whatever you would like. So for this next section, we're going to assemble the card. And this was the one that I started off with. And here I used the linen thread for my little clothesline. And you can see on the back how I pierced 2 holes and then I just put the linen thread through. I tied it in a knot under this side and put it underneath this little towel hanging from the line. So for this card, we're going to end up layering this on top, so I don't have to worry so much about how I'm going to tie the knot. But first I'm going to do the piercing. I'm going to use my take-a-pick tool, and if you have a sponge or some type of piercing pad, that'll work. So with my linen thread, I'm going to have it go across here, and I can kind of see how big these are going to be. So I kind of want to have this up a little bit high. So I'm going to poke a hole here. I'm just going to go across. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to poke a hole there. And then I'm just going to put it through. Oh, I didn't quite get it all. I'm going to have this there. That'll help me poke it all the way through. Then I think I need to cut this so it'll go through the other hole a little easier. Okay. And you could use a needle if you wanted to. I'm just too lazy. Okay, then I'm going to, in the back, I'm just going to tie a knot. And now when I tie a knot, if I want to get it tight, I like to use these reverse tweezers. And what you do, you just stick it down here in between where the 2 pieces of thread crossed. It's like having a third hand. And then I'm going to finish tying my knot. There, and you get it mostly tied, and I'm going to hold down on the 2 ends, then I'm going to pull out the tweezers, and then I'm just going to tighten that up. And then I'm going to cut this, and I'm done with that. Now again, I'm going to be layering this, so I'm not too worried about how this is. But if I was doing this on the front like this, where maybe I don't want the knot to be on the back where it shows, then I would end up putting either the little towels or the hearts over the top of that, so it would be hidden. But we don't have to worry about that too much. And on here too, it is good too if it's a little bit loose. You can kind of stretch it a little because we are going to want it to hang down a little, so it kind of gives that illusion of the clothes pulling the line down due to gravity. Okay, so now we're going to take our watercolor paper and we're going to punch out some hearts. And so there's a couple ways to do this. I did these in strips. So I can cut them out so it's easy to stick it into the punch. So I'm going to cut along here for the first section. And then the way you use this punch, especially when you're only wanting to do part of it, is don't do it from the top and push down. You always want to turn it over so you can see where what it's going to look like. So here, if I punch it here, it's going to be with these colors. If I go down here, it's going to be these colors. If I go over here, it's going to be way different. And also you can turn it to the side if you want it to be more crooked, or like here, if I wanted this more diagonal, then I might want to turn it over and go this way, and then I'm going to be able to have more leverage to turn it so it's more crooked. So you can just kind of play with that. You even might want to cut it down some more so you can get in right to where you want it, because this little heart here is really close down here right to the bottom. So let me stick that in here. Let me turn it a little bit. And you want to make sure when you look in the holes to make sure that there's, like right here, there's a gap, so it would not do it the correct way. Okay, so you want to play with it until you make sure the whole thing is covered. And sorry, I'm trying to see without getting my head in the screen. So, okay, let me try that. And I'm going to pop that out. Okay, good. So there's one. Then I'm going to just tear off some of this so it doesn't get in the way. Then I'm going to do another one. And this one, I think I'm just going to do straight up and down. Do I want to have a little bit of that showing? Let's see. Maybe I'll go this way. Just trying to see what I like, how I want to angle it. Maybe I'll angle that one like that. Okay. And if you somehow don't like how it's turning out, you can always just easily paint a little bit more. Or even you could say, I don't like this one. You could flip it over and you could probably paint a little on it. It's a little tiny piece to paint on, but you could still use some markers even and make some polka dots. Okay, now one thing too, if this is getting too short for me to stick in here all the way, you can always tape another piece of scratch paper or cardstock on there so you can reach it in all the way. And let me do that right there. Okay. And you want to make sure you pull the extra pieces out so they don't get in the way of other things that you want to punch later. So here's my 3 hearts. Okay, and then here's the bigger pieces. So on these, I want to do the big heart with. And again, you have to be aware of how you're cutting, because this is going to be cutting these leaves as well. So like here, I'm going to try to keep it in the corner like this. And then if it cuts off the edges here, that's just the white part and it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go like this. And on this, there is going to be a little bit of white showing, but I think that is going to be just fine. See how there's a little bit here and a little bit there. That doesn't bother me at all. And then let me go over here as well. And again, if you do it down here, you're going to have more of the green, red, and purple. If you push it up more, then you're going to get a little more of the blue. So it just depends on what you want. So make sure you turn it different ways until you see what you like. So I'll do that one next. Whew. Okay. And then over here, these are the other ones I did that kind of look like hearts, but you can see they kind of spread out some. So let me go like this, or maybe I want to go like this. Maybe I'll do this right here. So now I have several different kinds of hearts to choose from. And if you don't like one, you can always go back and redo it, or maybe you want to add a little bit of paint to it. Maybe you want to add some markers to it. It's whatever you want to do. And I have some choices here. Now I'm going to look at my picture here again, and then I'm going to start layering these, okay? Because I'm only going to have one big heart, and then I'll probably have 2 little hearts. So, which do I like? They all actually look pretty cute. So, do I want this one? Do I want this one? And like I said, if you want to go back and add more, I could add some polka dots with marker. You can add stamping on here. But the other thing that I want to do is I do like having the little gingham towels. And this is a part of Country Gingham 6x6 paper. Super cute in all these spring colors. Okay, here's these colors. There's a couple different gingham patterns, all different ones. I love this sweet sorbet. So we're going to do that. I think I have a scrap piece of paper that I'm going to use though to save on paper. We're going to get out our Stampin' Emboss, cutting emboss die cut machine. Okay, let me get out our plates. And then what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be using the stylish shape dies. And I'm going to use this piece right here that's going to make a cute little towel. So I'm going to put that on, and I think this will fit right here in the corner. I think it will. Hopefully that will work so I don't waste that paper. And I'm going to put it through. This machine is way easier to use than the one that I had a long time ago. Out. Yeah, that cut out good. So I'll move this out of the way. Okay. And then I also have another little piece here that I had already cut out from some extra, so I'm going to use that as well. Okay, so now we're going to glue this all together. I'm going to get out my liquid glue, and I'm going to get out my mini dimensionals to put this together. And you also need your take your pick tool. Okay. So on here, what I found, what was good was to fold your little towel in half. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim one side of it, so it's easier to glue on. Here's my paper snips, so I'm just going to cut some of that off. So this will be easy to put over the linen thread and then glue it together. Same thing with this little towel. I'm going to fold it over in half. Well, maybe I want to make it a little, you know, on this one, I think I might cut this down. Make it a little skinnier. Yeah, and then that's going to look a little longer. But I'm still going to trim off the back side so it's easy to glue on. All right, so to do this, I'm going to get my silicone mat. Whoops. And what I found to put some of this on, it was kind of nice to have just a little bit of glue on here to kind of grab if I need a little bit on the edge. Okay, so I don't want too much on here. And then I'm going to slip this underneath. I'm going to pick up the linen thread a little bit with my fingernail. And then I'm going to fold this over here. I don't want this right in the center. And then I'm going to press it down like this. And while that's kind of sticking there, actually you could do this ahead of time, but I'm going to get a small or mini dimensional. And I'm going to stick that underneath here, kind of towards the bottom. I don't need to put it on the top. I'm going to stick that on there. Okay. And the other thing that you want to do is that you want to make sure that the linen thread is up towards the top, so it does look like it's hanging there. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again over here on this side. And actually, I think I'm just gonna dip this in here a little bit, get some on there. It's a little bit easier. Also gonna do my Stampin' Dimensional first this time. Put that down towards the bottom. Okay. Then I'm going to put this over on this side. I'm going to touch it together, hold it a little bit just for a minute that way. Okay, and then I'm going to put that down here and then push that there. Actually, this one here, to me, see how that looks like it's going across more? I want it to be angled down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that Stampin' Dimensional from down here. I'm gonna kind of slide the spatula piece of the Take Your Pick tool underneath that. Get that up. Okay, and then I'm gonna move this a little. See how that, I'm gonna move that so that's down a little. Now, is that gonna still stick? Yep, that looks like it's still gonna stick. Okay, so I think that looks a little bit more like a clothesline. All right, so now that I have these two colors here, now I can kind of decide maybe which one of these big hearts I want. When I glue on the heart, I'm gonna do the Stampin' Dimensional on the bottom, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue at the very top, and I'm going to try to line it up with the top. I'm gonna try to line it up with the linen thread. Okay, so do we like that color? Because it kind of brings in the grass and the sweet sorbet. This one is very similar, has a little less green. And then there's this one that has the blue, purple, and red. I don't know. Maybe I kind of like this one. And then as far as the other hearts, I could have one here. I could actually be covering this up if I wanted. Could have this over here. You know, you can kind of do whatever you would like. I don't think I want too many. Maybe I'll do this over here, and maybe I'll do this one over here. Okay, and another thing that I also want to do on here is I want to stamp a little sentiment. I'm going to use the Country Bouquet, and this also comes from the Country Floral Lane bundle or the suite. And the suite comes with the gingham paper and the stamp set. It also comes with the punch, and it comes with some other goodies too. So that might be something that you would be interested in. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and stamp that really fast. Lock here. And on this one, there's For You, I Love You with Love. All of those probably would fit on this heart. Okay, I'm gonna do the With Love. Ink this up. There we go. So I'm going to put that on there. So I'm going to put my Stampin' Dimensional towards the bottom. And then I'm going to take and I'm just going to drag a little corner of the heart so that there's some glue on the top. And then that's where I'm going to touch it onto the linen thread or just on the very edge of my two little towels. And I want the sky to show too underneath it so you can kind of see the sky. So I'm going to put that on there. So it looks like it's hanging from the clothespin as well. And then with the Stampin' Dimensional, that will keep it in place. But I'm just going to hold it down here. Looks like I might have gotten a little extra glue on there, so I'm just going to rub a little bit off. I'm going to just hold it there for a few seconds so it will stick, so it won't come back up. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing. Just going to get a little dab of glue, and don't forget the dimensional. And I find it's easier to turn this upside down for me to get this to stick. See, in here, I was going to put this here, but I almost think maybe I want to put this over here, covering up more of this heart. Since it's kind of with love, you know, it's kind of 2 hearts. So I think maybe I will cover that up a little bit more. Well, I don't know. I can't decide. I'll see. But see, if you do that, then I have this dimensional here. It's going to be up too high. Well, I think it's okay. It kind of looks like it's just blowing in the wind more. Hold that for a second. Let me get my Stampin' Dimensional on the bottom of this one. Drag it in a little bit of glue at the very top like I did the other times. And then over here, I'm going to hold that down too. Okay. Okay, so then you can see that we are done with this. And if I turn it like this, you could see that it's kind of sticking out some. I kind of like that, again, because it's gonna make it look like it's blowing in the wind. In fact, this one here, I might want to curl this up a little. I'm gonna do that just by kind of pushing that against the edge of the Take Your Pick tool. You could also do like the edge, the barrel of a pencil to do that. And there we have this part. Okay, and to clean this stamp, I'm going to use Stampin' Scrub. I've had this for a really long time. I use a whiteout pen to mark this side as the clean side, as in the side I'm going to clean my stamp on, like a verb. And then this side over here is the dry side. So this is where you're just gonna rub it on the dry part, and then it helps get that ink off and keeps it dry. Then I'll put my stamp away so I don't lose it. All right, and so now we're going to put this together. And I want to get some of that really cute gingham paper to layer this on. And then I got a balmy blue base that I'm gonna put that on. So let me get my paper cutter, and my card base here is going to be 8.5 across by 5.5 for the width. So I'm going to want to make this so it will just be a little bit smaller than the cardstock base. So this is a 6x6 sheet of paper, so I'm gonna cut it at 5.5, and then I'm going to turn it a quarter, and I'm going to make, oh wait, no, I'm wrong, sorry. This is 5.5, so this actually needs to be 5.25. So I'm gonna cut it again, this time at 5.25. And since going across this much is 4.25, this way I'm going to turn it, and then I'm going to cut this at 4. Okay, let's see if I did that right. So then when I put this on here, it should just be a little bit smaller than the card base. Yeah, okay. Okay, and then I'm going to put this on top of it like that. Okay, so to adhere this, I'm gonna use my liquid glue, go around the edge, a little bit in the middle, try to get the corners. Okay, and then I'm gonna line this up. So it should be just a little bit around the edges. See if that looks even. I like the glue because if you need to adjust it a little, you can. Okay, and it sticks really good right away. Okay, and then now we're going to do this. And we'll do the same thing. Put some in the corners, go around the edge. Now this one will not be the exact same width. The difference in width here, but this one is going to have a larger border, and it's not going to be quite even. meaning we want to make this about the same and this about the same, but this is the width and the length is not going to be exactly the same. So when I line this up, kind of seeing how these white diamonds are going down here, and here they are going down there. Okay, does that look pretty good? Let me hold it this way so I can see it. Yeah, I think so. Okay, and then I'm just going to hold this down for a minute and then it will stay. Okay, so that is going to be our card. And you could add some other embellishments. I like the linen thread. I don't think I want to add any other ribbon or bows because that might take away from what we're looking at here. Let's see. But what I kind of see here is because I move this heart on top of the big heart, there is kind of a gap here where this isn't really quite centered. I don't know if that bothers you or not. But for just the fun of it, I think maybe I'll just make another little towel here. If I were to just kind of, I'm just going to kind of cut that square so it kind of looks like it could be another little towel. If I do that and make that skinnier. You're going to want to fold that over again. So if we do it like that, let's see. Is that going to fit in there? I can put it under the heart there. Yeah, I think that helps a little bit. All right, let me glue that on. I think if I were going to be doing another one of these, I probably would have put this gingham towel over more and then have this more in between the two. But I had already put that there when I decided to move the heart over. So that's all right. Oh, I kind of got too much there. Another way you can get some of the extra glue off by just putting it on that silicone mat. Okay, so I'm going to slide this under here. I'm going to make sure I get it underneath the heart. And then I'll hold that down. Oh, and I didn't do this Stampin' dimensional. Okay, so if you forget to do that, you know, I probably could just leave it. It's already kind of sticking up a little. But I'll go ahead and add one because there's plenty of times that I forget to do it. So if you forget, just go ahead and get it off, but you're gonna have to make sure you take the little paper off of both sides. Then you'll want to have it stick here, and then I'm gonna, this is already kind of lifting up, which is kind of nice, but you're gonna want to lift that up and then just stick it down and then put that down. And then it's like I remembered from the beginning, even though I didn't. Okay, so that is our card for today. And this is the other one that I did. That was my original one that I did on practice watercolor paper. But this one I did on the Stampin' Up watercolor paper that was super, super nice. I like this one as well, but you decide which one you like. Please check out the description for a full supply list, and please like, comment, and subscribe for more. Have a great day.